This lesson, we're going to talk about multiplying matrices. Now, if you remember when we added them, we basically had to have the same amount of rows and columns in each matrix, or else it wasn't going to work. So for example, this was a 2 by 2 and this was a 2 by 2. If we had a 3 by 2, the other one had to be a 3 by 2. We had to match it up. When we multiply, that's not necessarily the case. So what we have to do is we have to compare our dimensions. So this is a 1 row by 2 columns, the first matrix right here. And our second matrix is 2 rows with 1 column. So the gist of it is that if you write this out and these two are the same thing, you can then multiply the matrix. So that's, again, it's kind of helpful, whereas when we added and subtracted, it absolutely had to be the same thing. But when we're multiplying, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same. These two, the columns of the first one and the rows of the second one, have to match up. All right, when I'm looking at multiplying, again, first thing I got to do is check my rows and columns. This is 2 by 2. This is 2 by 2. These two are the same. Therefore, yes, I can multiply. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first row in matrix 1, and I'm going to multiply it by my first column in matrix 2. And then I'm going to take my second row in matrix 1, and I'm going to multiply it by my second column in matrix 2. So if I write it out, it's going to be 6 times 2 it's going to be 6 times 2 plus 7 times 9. So that's my first point. And then I have to take this first row again, and I'm going to multiply it by the second column as well. So I'm going to do 6 times 1 plus 7 times -3. And then I'm going to look at my second row, and I'm going to say, all right, -5 times 2 plus 8 times 9, and then 8 times 1 plus 8 times -3. Again, I have to make sure I get all the different categories, all the different ideas that are happening. So 6 times 2, 63. So 12 plus 63 gives us 75. 6 minus 21 is going to give me -15, -10. -10 plus 72, -62, and 8 minus 24, -16. All right, if I look at this one, again, the first step is to see, can you even multiply it? This is 2 rows by 3 columns, 3 columns by 2 rows. Yes, we can multiply. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first term and I'm going to multiply it into this term. And then I'm going to take that first row, I'm going to multiply it here. And then I'm going to take that first row and I'm going to multiply it here to get my first term. So if we think about it, it's going to be 7 times 5 plus -6 times -9 plus 2 times 3. That's what only goes in my first, box, or my first column. And now I'm going to say, okay, we'll simplify it later. Now I'm going to take all of these terms in my first line here, and I'm going to multiply them by every term in here. So I'm going to say 7 times 2, -6 times 0, and 2 times -7. Now I'm going to repeat everything I've done basically with this term. So I'm going to take 8 times 5. I'm going to take all 3 of those terms times -9. I'm going to take all 3 of those terms times 3. So 8 times 5 plus 3 times 5 plus 8 times 5 plus 3 times 5 plus negative, or 5 times 3. And then I'm going to take 8 times 2 plus 3 times 0 plus 5 times negative 7. So now we can start simplifying. I'm just going to say this here, 35, 54, and 6. 14 plus 0 minus 14. 40 plus 15 plus 15. 16, 0 minus 35. So you're probably going to want to use a calculator to help you simplify this. 35 plus 54 plus 6, 95. 14 plus 0 minus 14 is 0. 40 plus 15 plus 15 is 70. And 16 minus 35 is negative 19. So I took a 2 by 3 multiplied by a 3 by 2 matrix, and my answer was a 2 by 2. So your answer is going to be a 2 by 2 matrix.